3, 2, 1, go.
If you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear. The camera's here and the microphones, and they wanna know. If you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear. The crowd is here and the lights are on, and they wanna show. Yeah, a fresh, cool young Lou, trying to cash his microphone check 212. Wanna believe my own hype, but it's too untrue. The world brought me to my knees, what have you brung you? Did you improve on the design, did you do something new? Where your name in on the guest list, who brung you? You, the more famous person, you come through. And the sexy lady next to you, you come too. And then the hitman, standing outside of heaven, waiting for God to come and get me. I'm too uncouth, unschooled to the rules, and too gumshoe. Too much of a newcomer and too uncool. Like Shadow in the Veil, I battle with it well, though I need a holiday like Lady Who Sung Blue. Go back, whatever you did, you undo. Heavy as heaven, the devil on me 2 tons too. If you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear. The camera's here and the microphones, and they wanna know. Yeah.
Welcome. It's a great privilege to be with you this evening. I'm here on behalf of Media Mentors tonight. That may not be a cause that you're familiar with, but if you believe in unlocking creative potential of our young people, if you believe in the power of art, then we've got a treat for you, and I hope you enjoy the time we spend together. Tonight we're going to show you some incredible art from all over the world. We're also going to introduce you to this cause, Media Mentors. And we're going to give you an opportunity to help us empower young people. So let's get started. Tonight would not be possible without the support of our fantastic sponsors. Virginia Beer Company came forward early and identified themselves as somebody to support Media Mentors. Solidify Productions, Media U, the Greater Williamsburg Business Council, the Muscarell Museum of Art, and Identity Production Studios are our key sponsors tonight, and we want to thank them for their support. Tonight it's my privilege to have Steve Prince with us. He's a world-renowned artist and the Director of Engagement and an artist in residence at the Muscarell Museum at the College of William & Mary. But first, what is Media Mentors, and why does it matter?
Media Mentors to me is a great organization. It's a local organization with roots spread out throughout the whole United States. And what I love about it is we're elevating our local youth.
This is definitely a different avenue. This is a getaway for some kids that need that.
Media Mentors offers the potential to diversify the storytellers of our shared media landscape.
The mission really spoke to me. I like to think that if there were a program focused on film education and really by extension exploring humanities and science and technology, I would have done that as a kid.
I got involved with the board to give our local students opportunities. I think the more opportunities that we can give them, the more their voices can be heard, and they'll stay and come back to our community.
This is an opportunity for students to work under leading industry professionals and develop a passion for storytelling.
To own your narrative is every person is different, so, and everyone have their different story, so like no one have the same background, so to own it is literally everything to you. It just plays a part of who you are and not who someone wants you to be.
It's all about empowerment, right? When we're young, when we're the youth, we often have our parents, we have our mentors to find, or maybe inadvertently, whether they clearly do so or not, but they try to help guide you through your years of growth. Owning your narrative at whatever stage of life you are, especially with Media Mentors and being equipped with filmmaking and technology, you get to be able at any age start defining your own life story. And I think that's the most important thing. You're expressing yourself you're finding about who you are. And it's not just about saying, okay, this is who I am. You get to grow up, because we as kids are always growing, and even as adults. As we're growing up, we are defining and creating our own narrative as we go. And these are the ways, the tools that help us through that journey.
Let's get started. As I said, we have Steve Prince with us. Steve, you've been in the area for just a couple of years, and yet you've been so engaged. Tell us what you've been doing in Williamsburg and how you came back to Williamsburg.
Well, thank you so much, Rick, for inviting me on to this program with you, and I'm so glad to share the stage with you in terms of this whole process dealing with media mentors. Well, I came here in 2018, and I was hired by the Muscarelli Museum as the Director of Engagement and Distinguished Artist in Residence. Now, I get asked the question all the time, of what exactly is that? So the Director of Engagement, basically, I go out into the community and I create all kind of educational projects and programming engagement with all ages within the community, with elementary, middle school, high school, college level, and also people in the retirement community. But also, I am a visual artist, as we are sitting right here in the Chamber of Commerce, and we get to see several of my pieces right behind us that's flanking us and so forth. And so I do a lot of different media, drawing, painting, printmaking, and sculpture.
How did you get involved with Media Mentors?
Well, I think it's a perfect fit with Media Mentors, and particularly in relationship to their whole mission, which is about owning your content, owning your story. And so as an artist, as a visual artist, that's one of the things that's very key to me as a visual artist, is being able to own my story, to share the different images and information about the history that we all share in. And so Media Mentors is basically asked that I would be involved in terms as a board member, and I gladly took on the challenge to do so, which brought us to this moment right now.
And we've got some of your art behind us here at the Chamber and Alliance Tourism Bureau. We just, it's very exciting. I love that you have a story behind each of these pieces. Can you tell us about a couple of them?
Yeah, absolutely. I would share some of the stories about some of these works. But you know what? I'm going to sweeten the pot a little bit.
Great.
I want to offer one of these pieces to our audience.
That's fantastic. Thank you. That's really cool.
And let me see which one I'm going to go with. Oh, let's go with this one right here. This is the piece. The name of the piece is called Ain't No Grave.
Tell me about it.
Well, this piece, Ain't No Grave, is actually a tribute to Carlotta Walls Lanier. She was the youngest member of the Little Rock Nine, who in 1957 integrated public schools in Little Rock, Arkansas. She's a 14-year-old girl as she's walking into the school. And one of the things that I tried to showcase in the image symbolically, if you notice she has a little patch on her shoulder that says AOG. AOG stands for Armor of God. It is an idea that I pulled from the book of Ephesians, where Paul writes that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and things in high places, and encourages followers and believers to put on the whole armor of God. And so that's what I believe that those kids had on them, protecting them as they entered into the school. If you look to the left and to the right of her, you'll see that there's multiple figures, which demarcates the other 8, and which hence makes the 9. And above her head is this spirit-like form that's emanating from her brain, speaking of transcendence, as her arms are flapping, as building with strength and with power, helping her to engage with those issues that she had to confront every day. And so this piece here I want to offer up as part of this auction as well.
I love your passion, and I love that that's really displayed in this piece of art. So let's put it out there now. Let's give you an opportunity to bid on this piece. We have to admit that the last year has been difficult, but it has also unlocked tremendous potential, tremendous faith, and tremendous emotion. And I love that you have captured that in your own work, and you've also captured it from other artists whom you know, not just in this country, but literally all over the world. We've brought those pieces tonight, and we'd like you to take a look at the first one. Steve, tell us a little bit about the conjunction between the whole brewing community and how this all got started.
Absolutely, Rick. The company Weathered Souls out of San Antonio, Texas, created a formula called Black is Beautiful. And the beautiful thing that they did with it, pardon the pun, is that they took that formula and spread it all across the country. And they would put one caveat. They asked that the different companies that made that particular batch, that they would sell it and give all the proceeds to Black and brown community business owners in the community. And so that formula made its way here to Virginia and made its way to the Virginia Beer Company. And they chose the Media Mentors as the site where the funds would go. And so when we started talking about the ideas and going over there to the Virginia Beer Company and talking with those folks there, I came up with the idea of let us take the opportunity to paint on the surface of the cans and make them something unique and different. And so I took the cans, painted them all white, and then I went in there with a paint marker and I began to render different images onto the surfaces of them. The first person that I drew was one of John Lewis. And we just lost that wonderful giant of a man who stood the test of time in terms of fighting for social justice issues all across this land and around the world. And I thought there was a perfect opportunity for us to create an honor for him. Then I made the second can, which was a tribute to Rosa Parks. And we know in 1955 she refused to give up her seat on that Montgomery, Alabama bus. And that moment right there was a spark. And I thought it was another perfect opportunity to have a representation of one of our greats on the surface of those cans as we think about not only Black is beautiful, but the beautiful contributions of Black America. And then the third one that I did on the spot was I made a tribute to the two gentlemen that raised their fists high into the sky, professing, again, Black power, Black beauty at the 1968 Summer Olympics. And so these images on the surface of these cans was like a catalyst for us to begin to think about drawing upon other artists from around the world to participate in this opportunity to expand upon this whole idea that we're generating funds to support Media Mentors, but we have an opportunity to do even more work using the power of the arts, the cathartic nature of the arts as a means of changing elements inside of our community.
I love that you've captured an ordinary item and you've turned it into an extraordinary item that captures a piece of our history, and then you've collected these together. These are really unique pieces that are on your screen. And we're going to give you now an opportunity to up the bid. All of the proceeds go to support Media Mentors, but these pieces are just transcendent. I believe that they'll be collector's items for a long, long time. But everything that you give tonight supports this program. So thank you for your creativity, your passion, and it's just amazing to me how you captured it on something that we would just throw away, that we wouldn't even appreciate. And that's really the beauty of what you've done and really the whole story about what we're here tonight.
Absolutely. I think it's just another opportunity. And when we think about what the role of the artists and how they're played throughout societies and throughout time, is that they're able to take the everyday item and elevate it.
Right.
You know, able to take, the idea of something from nothing. And that is the power, again, of creativity. That's the power that I believe that we need to display in this moment. As we are trapped in this whole thing with COVID and as we're dealing with all these issues and people are repositioning themselves and trying to figure out how do we make it through, it has to be through the imagination. It has to be through creativity. It has to be through the collective body working together to grapple with these issues. And so I'm so glad, again, to be here with you and to be here before this audience and have the opportunity to use the art, again, as a catalytic tool to ways in which we can work together to create change.
And that's what Media Mentors is all about, is doing that with another generation, having them have people like you who can really pour into them and unlock their creativity and allow them to express their story. And we'll get more and more pieces like this that will transcend our time together.
Oh, absolutely.
I love it. That's great. Well, please take time now to bid on this piece. It's an extraordinary piece, and the bidding will close tonight. So we want you to really support our cause and also have something that will be a memorable piece for a long time. Thank you so much. So Steve, the next piece is really a favorite of yours from an artist in Atlanta. Tell me about this piece.
Oh, absolutely. See, I met Dante Yarbrough back, I would say, 2008. I had an exhibition down there. And I went back to my hotel and so forth, and then I get this phone call on my cell phone. And he's like, "Hey, Steve, what you doing tonight, man? I went to your art show, it was really wonderful and so forth." And I said, "Yeah, man, it was a great thing. I'm just chilling back at the hotel." He said, "They don't have anything set for you this evening?" I said, "No, not really." He said, "Man," he said, "you want to get out?" So Dante picked me up, brought me around town. We went to an India Ari party. It was right around the time of the Grammys. And then the next thing, I'm heading out to the studio, and I was just absolutely blown away. This guy has ceiling to floor, wall to wall, filled up with artwork. I mean, just all these different styles. And like this piece embodiment that we have here on auction, it's a phenomenal acrylic painting where you can get to see the way in which he uses the thick impasto painting style and layering and the beautiful array of colors and the different forms that are juxtaposed inside of the composition. And again, it's just a testament to not only his creativity, his imagination, his take on just the everyday life, and then putting it into his work. And that idea of embodiment, you know, it's this idea of the transcendence of the human spirit, being able to grapple with all these different issues, which I think is perfect for this moment right now. And so, so I'm just so happy that Dante chose this organization to support and offered up one of his pieces. A phenomenal individual, but also a really incredible piece that will just be a gem on someone's wall, and that will continue to accrue in value as the days go on.
So this item is priceless just because of what's captured in it. The minimum bid is on your screen, and we want to get the price to go up, and that's really where you're involved. We need your help. We really want you to take this piece home from this auction. This is an opportunity to take these pieces that you've collected from so many friends across the country, and each one has a compelling story of why they matter to this cause. The artists have donated these pieces, and all of the proceeds will go to support Media Mentors. Bid now.
Indeed.
This next piece is incredible. This just came in this week, so we've got momentum to this effort that's building. This piece is called Butterfly Girl. Can you tell us about it?
Yes. It was absolutely a phenomenal image. It is a mixed media piece. And the wonderful way in which Emo works is he actually layers down like acrylic inks very gesturally upon the surface. He lets that dry, and almost as if you're like looking at a Rorschach and you're looking into it and trying to find something, he works his images back onto the surface of it. And so he goes back into it oil paint, and he begins to extract the figure from it. And if you think about Butterfly Girl, if you look at this piece really carefully, you can begin to see that butterfly form that's forming off of the back of the girl's head inside of it compositionally. But he also called it Butterfly Girls because it was about the 278 young girls that were abducted in Nigeria. And so he made a piece not just speaking about the way in which they were incarcerated, the way in which they were captured. He made a piece that begins to speak about their spirit. And again, that word comes back up again, that transcendence, which I see over and over again. You're probably going to see in the works that we have this evening. But one of the things that's beautiful about this piece, you think about the butterfly and what a butterfly goes through, and the chrysalis, and that transformation. And that's what he's basically speaking about, that transformation of these girls to ascend from that place of harshness and to go to a space of rest, a place of restoration. And so, again, it's just a powerful piece. It's a reproduction, but it's high-class reproduction that Emo creates in terms of his work. And again, I think it's an absolute gem for you to have and add to your collection.
He could have noticed that, but that just captures this year, right? How difficult it's been and how difficult their story was. And then I love that image of the butterfly. Here we are in spring. Hopefully we're going to get on the other side of COVID, but this really unlocks the potential that we're trying to with this program and with this art auction tonight. So It's a perfect piece for tonight.
Yes, it is.
Please help us bid now. This is an incredible piece, and we'd want to see it in your home. This next piece is really special and also has a local connection, Steve. Diamonds in Red. Tell us about this piece.
Diamonds in Red, it was created by Kimberly Dummins. And I had the wonderful opportunity of meeting her back when she was an undergraduate student at Xavier University of Louisiana, where I went to undergrad as well. I was 1 year ahead of her and so forth, so I went off to grad school while she was still continuing on as a student. But we kept in contact over the years, and now she's a professor down in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, at Middle Tennessee State. But if you look at this piece, it is an absolutely phenomenal work which explores this beautiful element, and within Kimberly's work is dealing with quilts and the history of quilts, or the patchwork quilt in particular. And she's drawn upon a lot of the history. If you read this beautiful book by Jacqueline Tobin and Raymond Dobard called Hidden in Plain View, that book talks about the ways in which quilts were used as a means to help slaves to navigate the South to the North. They hid inside those quilt patterns symbols that gave them information about how to navigate the rough terrain. So these are just, so Kimberly is drawn upon some of the history, and some of the information is embedded within her work. And but so one of the things she does, she makes this printmaking process, and she prints all these different colors onto different swatches of paper. She lets it dry. She cuts those things up, and she arranges them to make these individualized, beautiful works of art. And you can see the kaleidoscopic way in which the colors are meshed into the composition. The way in which she uses design to play around the depth of field is absolutely masterful. This is a piece that you must have.
This is an extraordinary piece. It's worth a little bit more, but I think it will really hold its value, and it conveys a really important story. So please help us. Please help us support Media Mentors, and please bid on this extraordinary piece, Diamonds in Red. Tonight is all about young people and impacting young people. So let's hear from a few.
Media Mentors to me is a program for kids to work with cameras and learn how to edit and maybe make short film movies.
Media Mentors gives me skills that I may need later in life in the real world once I get out of college.
Usually after school, I'm usually kind of bored, and I know other kids in this community is kind of bored after school, so this would be a great way to use up our time after school.
I think it's important to know how to edit and make movies so that you can put it on your job applications, college applications, so that they know what type of experience you have with certain things.
The thing that I like about it most is, well, for me, I really like editing, and I like filming videos and things like that. So I think that's the best part about Media Mentors is editing and working with cameras. To own your narrative is to embrace who you are and embrace your story and your background and what you're from.
It's important to tell your own story because people have different point of views in the world, and they would get your story wrong, so it's better to tell it for yourself.
It's important for us to have a successful auction so we can have new technology, cameras, and to work with.
I think that it's important to buy art piece or make donations so that we could have the supplies and resources that we need to have fun in Media Mentors.
We breathe you out. Olay! I don't want to add that in.
The next piece is entitled In Ruins, and it's a really wonderful piece. Steve, tell us about this one.
Absolutely. This stunning painting by Sisavon, who is actually a professor at Middle Tennessee State, along with Kimberly Dummins. And the two of them are co-workers and been co-workers for maybe, I think, 15 years or so, something like that. But this is a phenomenal work on abstraction that has these abstract elements and repetition of colors that are repeating inside the image and so forth. But it also has an element of the built environment commingled with nature. And you can see both of those elements. But the key thing is about the piece is like this idea that they're in tension with one another. And that's an element that Sisavon has done consistently in her work, is show those tensions, show that idea that she comes from, she's born in Asia but comes to America. And then that tension of trying to fit in with this American history and customs and traditions, but also carrying with her own traditions and so forth in her work. And so her work definitely draws upon all those kinds of rich intersections. And so it's another stunning piece, and you can see the craftsmanship is spot on in terms of her control of not only color, but her control of the composition and depth of field.
I love that piece captures how the tension that we all have, how do you fit in, and her culture meshing with this culture. And you really can see that And you said structural design, architectural design.
Yeah,
There are
absolutely.
really solid lines in this.
Absolutely.
It's a great piece.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you got it in the show.
Absolutely.
It's
The forms are
fantastic.
very architectonic, you know, and you can see how they intersect inside the space. Really powerful.
I love how you describe these pieces. We're all learning, but these are incredible pieces, again, coming from all over the country and really through your connection to support this cause. So let's bid up on this. This is a wonderful piece in ruins. We have paintings, we have sculpture, we have all sorts of media tonight, and it's really exciting to have this piece in. I know this is one of your favorites. Tell us about it.
Oh, absolutely. Martin Payton. See, I've known Martin perhaps 25 years, maybe 30 years almost. And he's another person as a Xavier University of Louisiana product. He went there back in the 70s. And he was a longtime professor at Southern University in Baton Rouge. And this guy is a phenomenal sculptor. He has sculptures all across the country. He has a lot of pieces saturated throughout Louisiana, in Baton Rouge, and in New Orleans. But this little gem kind of reminds me of another artist by the name of Melvin Edwards, where he makes these pieces called lynch fragments. In this case, this piece called Juju, you can see that he's taken these different little pieces, and almost like vocabulary or like letters, and he's arranged them in this really beautiful juxtaposed and combined way where you can see him carefully balancing out the weight and utilizing a monochromatic color scheme to really just draw this whole piece together. And he's drawn upon Juju, you know, which is coming out of New Orleans, you know, it's that little talisman. It's that, you know, it's the language, it's the culture, it's the history, it's the power, it's the strength, you know, that he's drawing upon. Again, drawing from the Black experience and the ways in which we made a way out of no way. And so that's very much embedded within Martin Payton's work. And so it's a phenomenal sculptural piece. I'm sure it won't be here for long.
This one's a collector's item, and like you said, there are other pieces all over the country, so this would fit into a collection. But tonight we want to offer it to you. So please help us. Bid high, bid often, but make sure that you don't lose this piece. One of your favorites.
Absolutely.
This next piece, Lead One, Bead One, is a really special piece. It's a timeless piece that really captures the emotion. Tell us about this piece.
Well, I definitely have a deep connection to this piece. The artist, his name is Io Scott. And Io is the son of the famed African-American artist by the name of John Scott, who was a longtime professor at Xavier University of Louisiana, who many of the people that are part of this auction were students of. This guy was a MacArthur winner, a Genius Award winner back in, I think it was 1995, I think it was, 95 or 94. And Io is a beautiful up-and-coming artist in New Orleans. And he did this piece with acrylic paint. And he has this really wonderful kind of process in how he builds his work. It almost has this kind of graffiti-like way in which he builds the compositions. And so the colors, and it gets really densely packed within the compositional space, but then he goes back and he carefully extracts the forms out of it. So he kind of, in a sense, makes sense out of the chaos of colors and the cacophony of colors that he builds inside of his compositions. He then intersperses some little diagonal lines and things where he really controls the space, and it changes that what is called the viewer response timing. So as you look at the piece, you see these colors dancing around on the surface, and then you move to another spot of rest inside the composition. Just a powerful understanding of design, of color, of composition. Those things are embedded within this piece. And so Lead One, Bead One, you see the hand being held by the person that's out of the picture frame and the little person walking ahead. And that person is definitely in the costuming of the Mardi Gras Indians, or shall I say the Black Indians down in New Orleans, which has a long history down there. And so again, this is a powerful gem of a piece that you need to make some strong bids on.
This is a great piece. I love how you said making sense out of chaos. And again, that reminds me of what we've been through. This piece really captures that. So
absolutely,
thank you for bringing that to this show. Please help us bid on this piece. This is a wonderful piece, and we look forward to offering it to you. This next piece is Majuru, and it's got a really interesting texture to it and a very complicated process. Can you describe that?
Oh, absolutely. This artist, his name is Koichi. And I had the wonderful pleasure of meeting him last year when I was an artist in resident at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, Tennessee. And when I was at the college, he was the master printer that was over printing one of my pieces. So we got to know each other very well.
Right.
And just had a great time sharing and breaking bread together, and just being in the fellowship of the printmaking studio. Hence, that's what this piece is. Is a printmaking piece is called an etching, and an etching basically involves where you take a zinc or a copper plate, and then they coat it with a material called asphaltum, and then you scratch through it with a metal stylus to reveal that metal again, and then you submerge it into acid. And then the acid eats at those lines that are exposed, whereas the asphaltum is protecting the rest of the plate. After you get a deep bite into that plate, you clean off that asphaltum, then you force ink back onto the surface, wipe it clear, and let the ink sit into the grooves, put paper on top, run it through a press, and that's how that print is made. So this piece here, hand done, all those lines that you see were all pushed together and meshed together to create this composition called Majuru. And you can just look at the piece, and it almost has this kind of mirror effect where you see one side is mirroring the other side. And so this idea, this kind of balance that's embedded within the piece, the really strong control of graphic design and penmanship in terms of how he controls the weight of the line inside the composition is absolutely phenomenal.
I attempted a piece like that when I was a young man, and I know how incredibly difficult this is. This process is complicated, and it reveals a wonderful, wonderful piece.
Oh,
so if anybody's ever tried that, you know how difficult it is, and then to create something of this complexity, and then to be able to have it this expressive is really exciting. So thank you again for bringing this piece to us and the story behind it.
Absolutely.
So this piece can be yours as well. We just need you to bid. We want you to be the winning bidder tonight and to support the important cause of Media Mentors. So bid now on your screen, and you'll be able to own this piece.
Absolutely.
Media Mentors is about unlocking creativity in young people, but it's also about capturing moments and stories. And this past year has been full of many. Maya Angelou said, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you." We want to dig into that deeply with Media Mentors, capture these moments, and tell these stories. Watch this video.
Robbie Willie, co-founder of the Virginia Beer Company. It was very clear that beer should be fun. Brewing is work, but beer should be fun. We came back to Williamsburg in part because we were spending a lot of time volunteering for William & Mary to raise money as alums for the college, and we just basically took that love of community, that love of place, and wanted to put it as the spirit of the brewery. So we decided the brewery should be a force for good in the community, and our company mantra is beer, people, purpose, and we try to keep community as the focal point of every decision we make. There was a lot of hurt in 2020 on a lot of fronts, and social injustices came to the forefront for a number of reasons. And for us to say that we're going to be a force for good in the form of a brewery, for us to really double down on our beer, people, purpose mantra, we knew we had to speak up and make our voices heard to show that we are here for beers for all and cheers for all, as we like to say. And we can't do that if we don't step up and say something. And so when we saw Weathered Souls Brewing Company out of Texas doing something about it, specifically brewing Black is Beautiful to showcase the social injustices taking place and to raise money to combat those injustices, we knew we had to be a part of that. One part of the agreement was specifically to find a nonprofit in your area that focused on social injustices and equality and making sure that proceeds from the beer release went to that nonprofit. We wanted to support local, we wanted to double down on that local focus, and we were connected with Media Mentors to be the sponsor of our Black is Beautiful release.
So now we have another piece of really interesting art with a great story. Tell us about Seedling, which also has a local connection.
Absolutely. This piece here is by an artist by the name of Donald Wilson, a very close friend of mine. I've been knowing Donald easy 20-something years. And he was a longtime teacher at Indian River High School. And but just a really profound artist in terms of doing different processes, from drawing to painting to printmaking to sculpture. And this particular piece that he has offered for us, it is absolutely, I know I've said this word, it's a gem. It really is. It is actually a process where he takes foam, and he also takes some found objects. In this case, he's got some wood elements with it too. And he takes wood kind of armature-like structures he builds inside. He takes the foam and he fashions it around. And he uses like gesso and staples and different things to begin to really shape those foam pieces into the shapes that they are. And then he goes back and he creates this kind of trompe-l'oeil kind of surface to them, and he paints them with multiple colors and so forth. And then just this idea, you know, that he uses a seedling, you know, the idea you think about planting the seed. Right. And it just brings to mind this idea of a mustard seed, you know, and that's all we need in terms of our faith, and we can move mountains. And I think that that's one of the elements that I'm sure that Donald was speaking of, is about that idea, the faith of those seeds that were planted, because we are those seeds. Right. You know, we are the manifestations of those dreams of our forefathers and our foremothers. And so it just becomes a really strong charge upon us in the job and the work that is yet to be done. And so this piece, I think it embodies all those ideas so beautifully. And I'm just so happy that he was able to participate in this and to offer this work for folks to indulge in.
Well, thank you for bringing this piece. I love that there's still work to be done. So this is a living piece, if you will.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Well, Seedling, that's our piece, and you can bid on it now. Just please click on the screen, and please help us with our cause. This next piece, Sentiment, you can place an immediate bid, or you can hear the description and then place your bid. But this is a wonderful piece from Chicago. So you brought pieces from all over the country. Tell us about this one.
Absolutely. I intersected with Sergio Gomez, I want to say about 4 years ago. He and I were basically keynote speakers at a conference called Who Is My Neighbor? And we both were staying in this B&B together, and every day, of course, we would get up in the morning and have breakfast together. And then we would go to the conference. We kind of like went our separate ways. He would do his thing, I would do my thing. But every time we would come back and convene over that table and breaking bread together, you learn a lot about a person and sharing a meal with them. Right. You know, just as like you go to the Virginia Beer Company, you can learn a lot about somebody just sharing a beer with them. Okay. And so in meeting Sergio, I found a kindred spirit in him. And one of the things that I love about his work is that is not only the message is important, but the style, the methodology by which he creates it is very important. The process is important. And so this piece, which is a mixture of charcoal and acrylic paint, again shows his beautiful understanding of not only design, but his way in which he takes those complex stories and he meshes them together to create these really poetic statements for us to really delve into. And so this piece called Sentiment, you know, it looks like it has this big throbbing heart that looks like it's planted within the universe. The face has this line that's very calligraphic in its nature, almost looks like a constellation of stars that are being lined together. And it just begins to bespeak of our individual bodies and how important it is, but how important it is to the collective body. Another beautiful piece that we need to have be in someone's home.
This is a really neat piece. I love the colors. I love everything about it. So this piece could be yours. Just please bid now. All of the support, again, goes to support Media Mentors. But this is a chance to have something really special in your home. So we hope that you'll take home Sentiment.
Indeed.
I love the different kinds of art that you've assembled here, Steve, tonight. We've got sculpture, we've got all sorts of different print pieces, but this is really the art of the future, a media piece created. So tell us about this piece.
Well, this piece here was done by my main man, Stacy Robinson. Now, see, I met Stacy when I was a professor at Allegheny College. This is about 4 or 5 years ago. And he came there to participate in a thing called an 8-hour project. And basically it is, you had 8 hours to produce a work of art.
Wow.
And so we all had our little plot of like real estate within the gallery. Each person was creating their work and so forth. And he made this drawing that was drawn upon a lot of graffiti and a lot of comic book elements into it. And I was drawing this other image on the wall. And I remember us having dinner, you know, later on the evening after the event. And we just began to connect on the comics and connect on that whole history of that. And one of his favorite artists was Jack Kirby from Marvel Comics, which was one of my favorites. And then when you look at this piece here, you know, Stargazers, it's just a phenomenal work that he's done. It shows his understanding of not only drawing, but also an understanding of this new media with digital drawing. And this image, I love it because it also steps into this realm of Afrofuturism, the ways in which we are continually creating these characters, of black characters in these very positive roles, and ways in which they have been you know, sopped from history or not represented properly in a lot of the different comic media. You know, we see the boom, what happened with like Black Panther and so forth.
Right.
This piece here where he creates these characters, creates these ideas, and shows us alive in the future, contrasting a lot of these concepts of trying to say about this black male extinction and all these kinds of ideas. No, no, no. We are here to stay. Black is beautiful. You know, all those things, you know?
Right.
So this is a powerful piece. I definitely think you need to add this one to your collection because this is a piece that, again, that speaks of now, but it also speaks of the future.
Right. So historic pieces and pieces of the future, I really love that idea. And the positive image going forward is critical. So digital media, something that we don't even know where it's going to take us.
No, we do not.
So this is a special piece capturing this time and this artist. We thank you, Steve, for bringing it to us. We'd really like someone to have this piece for the rest of time.
Indeed.
Can be yours. Bid now. Thank you. Something for everyone tonight, Steve. This is a metal sculpture. So we've had all sorts of different media. Tell us about this and that story of the artist as well.
Absolutely. Well, this one here, she's a very close friend of mine. This is Michelle Levine, New Orleans-based artist. She also went to Xavier University of Louisiana for undergrad. She studied under the famed John Scott. I mean, John Scott spawned a lot of artists all across the country. This piece here, Stretched to the Nine, it is an absolutely phenomenal piece when you look at it. And when you hear those words, Stretched to the Nine, you can begin to almost see that character of the nine, but you also see the stretching, the elongation of the figure. You feel that gesture of the body, the dance, the movement, the energy that she's able to capture. And I love this whole juxtaposition of showing the just kind of representation of artwork, a representational form of the figure, but she also has embodied the abstraction in there where she simplifies certain elements and allows for your imagination to finish off the conceptual sentence. And so when you look at the image, it is these pieces of metal, these scraps. Again, it's like that quilting, like what Kimberly Dummins does.
Right.
It is like those fragments that Martin Payton does, you know, and you'll see this vocabulary she takes as she welds these pieces together and she gives us an idea, again, this ascension of the spirit, this energy, you know, stretched to the nine.
Stretched to the nine. It says a lot about what we've been through, about what humankind is going through, but it really conveys a lot in this piece. So thank you very much for having her contribute it to us. Again, these artists have donated these pieces so that we can support Media Mentors. Bid now, and this can be yours. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Our community has come together to make this event possible, and now we want to thank one of our sponsors.
So for my family, they talk about the American dream. My dad came here to Baltimore. This is where he first came. He had a research fellowship with UNICEF to do genetic therapy research at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, Maryland. And then due to unforeseen circumstances with the Tiananmen Square massacre happening in China, he was offered an opportunity to stay here in the United States permanently. And that's when my mom came over from China. And I say this long-windedly, but they came here with nothing. This is their first roots here in the United States of America. All they knew, they left behind. And of course, they still remain in touch. But the point being is they're able to achieve the American dream and to be able to be well off enough where there are countless individuals that we could thank along the way of our life journey that's helped our family out. But one of the best ways to give back is to be able to use the Family Foundation and amplify the missions of those agencies such as Media Mentors that seek to help people out. So this is our family's way of giving back to our communities.
There is a Beautiful Black Man is the name of this piece, and that captures so much. Tell us about this piece. It's very engaging. It's just a fantastic piece.
Absolutely. This is a masterful work by the artist named Clayton Singleton. He's a Virginia-based artist. Been knowing him for about 15 years. And one thing about Clayton is that he is a direct reflection of the work that he creates. And that, you know, by calling this piece, There's a Beautiful Black Man, this is a self-portrait of him. But one thing I love about this particular image is his use of the positive and the negative space inside this composition. One of the things that you may even think of, you may think of Rodin's Thinker. You know,
that's exactly what I thought.
Yeah. And you see the posture and the way, but I love the way he uses that negative space inside the composition. Yeah. But one thing about him, I mean, some number you may know of him because he was on the cover of Distinction magazine a few months ago. Wow. And his work in the community, in the classroom, and the work that he's done in the gallery work is exemplary. So this is an absolute fantastic piece that I definitely should add this to your collection. So bid.
This is a timeless piece, and it could be anywhere, but it really would attract attention in someone's home or their office. It really is a very special piece. So we'd love for you to have it. Again, an art auction to support Media Mentors, capturing the creativity of the human spirit. Please help us. Thank you. This next piece is really interesting. It's untitled, it's just in black and white, but there's still a lot there. And I know you know about the artist and about this piece. So.
Absolutely. This artist, his name is Ron Bechet. Now, that name may ring a bell with you when you hear the word Bechet, because he's a great-grandson of Sidney Bechet, which was one of the great jazz musicians in New Orleans, Louisiana. So he has a long history back there. Ron Bechet, of course, born and raised in New Orleans, went to Yale University for graduate school. And one of the things that he's done with his work that I just found to be so profound, he takes these long walks in the woods, and he will go along the woods, and then what he'll do is he'll look at the trees and the formations, and many of us have probably done this exact same thing. Yeah. He will see figural forms inside the tree branches, the gnarly branches that twist and meander through space like calligraphic lines. And then he will see that figure, but he still allows for the drawing of the branches and the trees to still exist. So when you look at the works, you can see the hint of the figure, the bodies, almost dancing as the way in which the willow moves with the wind. And in this particular case, the leaves are devoid within the composition, and you begin to see the lines that intersect inside the space. And this is a charcoal drawing, you know, and so it's a pretty rapidly done piece, but then you can see the spaces where he's slowed down, when you see those little hard lines and the detail being kicked back into it. So it's a phenomenal work by him, and it's definitely within the vocabulary of his work. I believe he's represented by Arthur Rogers down in New Orleans, which is one of the premier gallery spaces down there. So this is definitely a gem.
So this is a gallery piece. It has a lot of texture to it, and that's one of the neat things about art, is capturing something which we all may have experienced, but really capturing the essence of it. So this is a really special piece.
Yes, it is.
Thank you for bringing it to us.
Indeed.
This also could be your piece. It could be in your living room or office. Bid now. You click on your screen, and we would love to have a bid from you. This piece is going to draw quite a bid, I think, tonight. So thank you for bidding. The next piece, Women of Much Color, has deep meaning for our curator here of this incredible show that you've really brought to us. So you brought all these pieces together, some deep meaning for you and very close to you. others, friends that you've met along the way. So we've been on a journey with you tonight, but this is a special piece. Tell us about it.
Indeed, indeed. This piece here was done by my brother, my biological brother. His name is Antoine Prince Jr. And born and raised, of course, in New Orleans, Louisiana. And he went to Southern University of New Orleans, where he got his degree in art. And he's been a long-time teacher down there. But he's the person that I attribute whenever I talk about becoming an artist. He was the first person who inspired me. Wow. You know, little brother sees big brother making art. Right. You know, he just inspired me. So I saw him drawing things, and I remember one story I'll share with you. I was like in the 7th grade, and I was making this drawing for this contest. And as I was going to my brother, you know, asking him for help. And he's like, man, the only way you're gonna learn, you gotta do that thing yourself. He said, I can't sit here and keep helping you on how to do this thing. He said, because then that won't be your artwork, that'll be mine. So that was a charge that I remember as a little kid. I remember him saying that to me, and I just went in there and just dug in and just kept working and knew that I had to build my craft. And so that's when I learned from him, you know. So when I see his work, it's a reflection. I know every stroke, I know every line within his work, because I remember them being on the walls within our room and in our home. And I remember the works of all the different galleries all throughout the city. And in this piece, Women of Much Color, it's a beautiful testament to seeing the full array of again, that Black is beautiful concept comes back again. It rolls around full circle as you see the different eye shapes, eye colors, lip shapes. And he's showing the different shades of skin, and he's showing them in such a way where he's broken up in a very cubistic kind of way, where he has smaller shapes, larger shapes. And if you look at it carefully, you begin to think about the way in which color works in composition, where light colors tend to push forward, darker colors tend to push back. And it creates this really kind of interesting energy in a piece. But the thing I like about it is that all these different bodies and different parts, it all makes up one body. And that's us. We're one body, ultimately.
That's a great analysis of this piece, and it makes it very special. And I love how your brother has empowered you, and that's what this is about too. So brother empowering brother and lifting each other up. This is a really incredible piece. It's very complex, but like it says, it brings us together. So that's fantastic. Thank you so much. We would like you to bid on this piece. So the bid is already on your screen, but you can increase that bid, and this could be your piece, a very special piece to have as part of your collection in your home or office. So thank you so much. You Can't Hurry Love. This is our last piece of the night. It's a very special piece, another sculpture. But Steve, we've had a lot of fun talking about the meaning behind these pieces and also the ingredients that go in. Very special. So tell us about You Can't Hurry Love.
Oh, this is an absolutely phenomenal, abstract, poetic piece by Letitia Bourgeois. She's a professor at Texas A&M in Corpus Christi. And I met her about 8 years ago at a conference hosted by NPN, which stands for National Performance Network. And I believe the first city that we met in was Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I remember there was an opportunity where there was like a party gathering and so forth, and the two of us connected and we were talking and so forth. And I just remember her talking about her work. And the one thing that stood out to me is this element of recycling that was really strong within her work. And so what she did and what she does, she has friends from all around the world send her old CDs. And it's about this idea about the CD and the way in which we have been pushed away from. I mean, we lost CD drives on our computers. Right. I mean, we used to, you know, everybody had a CD, you would get those elements. And I think about the way CDs kind of came into play and how they replaced the album. You know, and I'm a person who have a bunch of old albums. I got the old vinyl, you know. And so I'm used to putting on my little wheels of steel, and I'm thinking back to the times of hip hop and how all these things come into being and so forth, and how people were on the wheels of steel. But now the CD comes along, now everything is shifted to digital. And so she has a piece that she does with her work, and she makes these really huge installation pieces, filling up museum spaces using CDs as that kind of metaphorical element that it still has life with those elements. They're not dead, they're not gone. It just needs to be reinvigorated with something new.
I love that.
And so I love this idea, You Can't Hurry Love is a title for this piece. As you can look at the piece, it is an image of ascension. It's spiraling up. And it's almost like our DNA strands of our body and the way in which you can't hurry the love that each one of us was created with or created by. And
That's
as a way in which you think about, it's about time, it's about maturation, it's about growth. And if we think about us in this moment, it's about time, it's about maturation, it's about growth. But what's key, I think, is important that we have to have love, and we can't hurry it.
I love that. This is a great piece. It's got a lot to it. I also like that each one of those CDs represents an artist.
Absolutely.
So it's all entwined here together. So
Yeah.
it's a great piece to close out the night. This is the last piece we have, and we would love for you to bid it up. Remember that all of the support tonight goes to Media Mentors, which will unlock the creativity of youth in our community. So this is just going to carry this forward. We'd love to have your support. Please bid on this item. And if you don't bid on this item, we don't want you to go home empty-handed. All of you have spent time with us tonight, seen some fantastic art, but it's also an opportunity to support Media Mentors. So if you didn't get a piece of art, the piece you wanted, we still want you to click and give to Media Mentors tonight. So
Absolutely, absolutely.
this has been a treat. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Thank you for the love and passion that you infused by bringing all these pieces together from friends and then sharing that with us. So I hope whoever purchased the art tonight will save this video, because they've got to savor what you've told us about these pieces.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So any final thoughts?
Well, I think definitely I want to thank all the artists that offered up their works, to continue to help us to build and rebuild. You know, I think back throughout history, the ways in which artists have worked throughout communities to help them uplift each other. And it reminds me of something else that my mom told me when we were little kids, is that she told me that when she was a young woman, they used to have things called waistline parties. And the waistline party is that you would come to the person's house and you get your body measured. And then they would take that measurement and you would pay like 5 cents per inch, whatever it was. And then you would get to enter into the party. And it wasn't just about you extracting money from people, it was a rent party.
Right.
It was a way in which the community worked together to keep the community strong. And so it was also a way of dignity that you would come to people, not just giving them handouts, but you were using a methodology in terms of having a party and some music going on to continue to gather to deal with the moment. So I think about that idea of the waistline party, the rent party. I think about it in this case that Media Mentors is not struggling, but its Media Mentors wants to continue to grow and impact the youth who are in some instances are in some really harsh situations. And we want to empower them with creativity, empower them with art, but we also want them to own their story. This is it.
I love that. So own your narrative. That's the Media Mentor story. So we thank you for helping us put it together tonight. You're part of the story. We want you to be part of that story. We want you to continue to support Media Mentors as we move forward. This has been a very special night, so thank you again for sharing it with us.
Thank you, Ray.
We look forward to the time that we can gather in person, but tonight we wanted to bring you a video tribute, and we've really enjoyed our online art auction, and we hope you have as well. Thank you so much. Throughout the night, we've put up the amount that we have raised together from the sponsors who made tonight possible, from those of you who bid on art tonight, and from those of you who just clicked on and made a tax-deductible gift to support Media Mentors. So this has been a great night, and you can see on your screen the total that we've raised tonight, and that's a truly extraordinary number. So we thank you for your support. One special thing, we're going to actually keep this open until midnight tomorrow night. So we need you to defend your bids. If you really wanted a piece of art tonight, we want you to defend your bid and carry that over till tomorrow night so we can raise a little bit more for Media Mentors. So it will close at midnight tomorrow night. If you wanted to make a gift, or if you want to let somebody else know about this cause, they still have a chance to contribute to Media Mentors through this event. So special tribute will allow it to go till tomorrow night, midnight, before we announce the total. But we want you to feel part of it. Please let anyone else know who cares about this cause to go online and give. We'll include that in the total, and then we'll celebrate together the difference that we've made, unlocking the potential of young people especially, allowing them to tell their story. But I think also, Steve, in this year, the importance of capturing a moment is really critical, and we're going to allow young people to actually capture their moment and tell their story, and that's an important legacy going forward that's really important to this cause.
Absolutely.
So, again, thank you for your participation. It wouldn't have happened without you. We thank our sponsors, and we thank you in particular. So before midnight tonight, that'll be your, before midnight tomorrow night will be your last chance. We'll hold it open for one more 24-hour period, but we'll really appreciate your participation and your support of Media Mentors. Thank you.
Thank you.